The morning sky over Seoul turned black as death. Giant alien ships appeared from nowhere like dark clouds covering the sun. Admiral Cumin stood at the window of the Space Defense Center watching the enemy fleet hover above Earth. Each alien ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. They looked like metal monsters ready to devour the planet. Captain Sora ran into the command room. Her face was white with fear, but her eyes burned with anger. She held a communication device in her shaking hands. The aliens were sending a message to every radio and television on Earth. The message was simple and cold like winter wind. The alien voice spoke in perfect human language. They called themselves the Vorthon Empire. They had conquered 47 star systems. Every planet they visited had two choices: surrender completely or face total destruction. No species had ever chosen to fight them. Every civilization had given up within 12 hours of receiving this message. The Vorthons gave Earth exactly 24 hours to decide. After that time, they would begin killing every human on the planet. They would destroy every city and burn every forest. They would make Earth into another dead world in their empire. The alien commander sounded bored when he spoke, as if destroying planets was just another day at work. Down on Earth, people watched their televisions and radios in shock. Some cried and some prayed and some just sat in silence. The alien ships were so big they blocked out the sun in many cities. Children pointed at the sky and asked their parents what the dark shapes meant. Parents had no answers to give. President Haiwan called an emergency meeting in the underground bunkers beneath the capital. The most important people in the world gathered around a metal table. Military leaders sat next to scientists. Politicians sat next to weapons experts. Everyone looked worried, but nobody talked about surrender. General Boram was the first to speak. He was an old soldier with scars on his face and fire in his heart. He slammed his fist on the table and said, "Humans would never bow to aliens." He said fighting was what humans did best. Even if they lost, they would make the aliens pay for every inch of Earth. Dr. Yujin sat quietly in the corner. She was the head of the secret weapons program that most people did not know existed. For 5 years, she had been working on projects that could defend Earth from alien invasion. When the general finished speaking, she smiled like a wolf seeing prey. She told the room that humanity had been preparing for this day. The president asked what weapons they had. Dr. Yujin explained that human scientists had been studying every piece of alien technology that had ever crashed on Earth. They had built weapons that no alien empire had ever seen before. They had created bombs that could destroy matter at the atomic level. They had developed stealth technology that could make entire armies invisible. Colonel Minsu controlled the special forces units hidden around the world. He reported that his soldiers were already moving into position. Underground tunnels connected every major city. Secret weapons caches were stored in places the aliens would never think to look. If the Vorthons wanted a war, they would get one, unlike anything they had ever experienced. The hours passed slowly as Earth prepared for battle. Normal people were told to hide in underground shelters. The military moved equipment and soldiers into secret positions. Scientists activated weapons systems that had been hidden for years. Everything was ready, but the aliens did not know it. Yet Captain Sora monitored alien communications from her hidden base. The Vorthons were talking among themselves. They sounded confident and bored. They had done this 47 times before. Every species had surrendered. They expected humans to do the same thing. They were planning victory celebrations before the battle had even begun. The alien commander sent another message after 12 hours. He seemed surprised that Earth had not surrendered yet. Most species begged for mercy by this time. He wondered if humans had even received his demands. The message repeated the same threat: surrender or die. Nothing else would be accepted. Admiral Cumin watched the alien fleet through his telescope. The ships had not moved from their positions above the major cities. They were waiting patiently, like predators watching prey. The admiral counted over 300 vessels. Each one carried enough firepower to level a mountain. But the admiral was not afraid. He had seen the weapons Dr. Yujin had built. As night fell across half the planet, people huddled in their shelters. They listened to radios and watched television screens showing the alien ships. News reporters tried to stay calm, but everyone could hear the fear in their voices. Some religious leaders said the end times had come. Others said humanity would find a way to survive like they always had. The Vorthan commander grew impatient as the deadline approached. He had never waited this long for a surrender. His officers suggested that humans might be too primitive to understand the message. Perhaps they needed a demonstration of alien power. The commander decided to wait until the full 24 hours had passed before taking action. Dr. Yujin worked through the night, making final preparations. Her quantum weapons were charged and ready. The stealth generators were online and invisible to alien sensors. The trap was set perfectly. When the aliens attacked, they would walk into the most sophisticated ambush in galactic history. They would learn that humans were not like other species. President Haiwan made one final broadcast to the world. She told people that humanity would not surrender. They would fight with everything they had. She promised that the aliens would regret coming to Earth. Her words were calm, but her message was clear. Humans would rather die fighting than live as slaves. The 24 hours ended with sunrise over the Pacific Ocean. The alien fleet had received no surrender message, no desperate pleas for mercy, no offers to negotiate. Earth remained completely silent. The Vorthan commander was confused and angry. This had never happened before in the history of their empire. The aliens prepared to attack. Transport ships separated from the main fleet and headed toward the surface. Weapons systems came online aboard the massive warships. The Vorthans expected to see humans running in panic through their streets. They expected to find a broken civilization ready to serve new masters. Instead, they found empty cities and silent streets. The trap was ready, and the prey had become the hunter. The Vorthans had made the biggest mistake in their long history of conquest. They had threatened humanity, and now they would learn what that really meant. The alien transport ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. The Vorthan commander watched from his flagship as hundreds of landing craft headed toward major cities around the world. This was how conquest always began. Land. Troops in the cities and the primitive species would surrender within hours. Commander Jiho crouched in his underground bunker beneath Seoul, watching alien ships land in the empty streets above. His soldiers were hidden in tunnels that stretched under the entire city. They had enough supplies to last for months and weapons the aliens had never seen before. The first phase of humanity's plan was working perfectly. The alien soldiers emerged from their landing craft expecting to find humans cowering in fear. Instead, they found deserted streets and abandoned buildings. Windows were dark and doors were locked. No humans ran screaming from their homes. No crowds begged for mercy in the streets. The cities looked like ghost towns. Captain Sora monitored alien communications from her secret command post. The Vorthan soldiers were confused by the empty cities. They had conquered 47 worlds, and this had never happened before. Usually, primitive species gathered in large groups to surrender. Sometimes they tried to hide, but never did entire civilizations simply disappear. Dr. Yujin watched her screens from deep inside a mountain bunker. For 5 years, her team had prepared for this exact moment. They had studied every weakness in Vorthan technology. They had built weapons that could exploit those weaknesses perfectly. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species, but they were about to learn how wrong they were. The Vorthan ground forces spread out through the empty cities. They followed standard invasion procedures that had worked on dozens of worlds. Secure the government buildings, control the communication centers, set up command posts in strategic locations. They had done this so many times it was like following a recipe. But this time, the recipe was poisoned. Every building the aliens entered had been prepared for them. Every street they walked down was part of an elaborate trap. Colonel Min-Su and his special forces had spent months turning the cities into giant weapons. The aliens were walking into the most sophisticated ambush in military history. The first alien patrols entered the government buildings in world capitals. They found empty offices and abandoned computer terminals. Security systems had been shut down, and important files had been removed. The building seemed completely deserted, but something felt wrong. The air was too still and the silence was too perfect. Commander Jiho gave the signal to his soldiers hidden throughout Seoul. Phase 1 of the deception was complete. The aliens had taken the bait perfectly. Now it was time to spring the trap. His soldiers moved through hidden passages that the aliens could not detect with their advanced sensors. They were like ghosts preparing to strike. Dr. Yujin activated her quantum mining system. For months, her team had been placing special devices throughout every major city. The devices were invisible to alien technology because they used principles that the Vorthons had never encountered. They were bombs that could destroy matter at the atomic level, leaving nothing behind. The alien commander on the flagship grew more confused as reports came in from the surface. His soldiers had secured hundreds of buildings, but found no humans, anywhere. The entire population of Earth seemed to have vanished. Some officers suggested that humans had fled to other planets, but that was impossible with their primitive technology. Captain Sora smiled as she listened to confused alien radio chatter. The Vorthons were used to fighting civilizations that matched their level of technology. They expected their enemies to use energy weapons and force fields and starships. They had never fought a species that went back to the basics of warfare. The alien patrols began setting up communication equipment in the empty buildings. They needed to establish contact with their fleet and coordinate the search for missing humans. But every device they installed had been anticipated by Colonel Minsu teams. Hidden sensors monitored every alien movement and recorded every alien conversation. Dr. Yujin completed the final preparations for her surprise. The quantum mines were now active throughout every city where aliens had landed. Each mine was connected to a central control system that she operated from her mountain bunker. With the press of a button, she could erase entire city blocks from existence. The Vorthon soldiers grew more nervous as the hours passed. Some reported hearing strange sounds in the tunnels beneath the cities. Others claimed to see shadows moving in abandoned buildings. The invasion was not going according to plan, and the soldiers began to question their commanders. Commander Jiho watched alien patrols walk directly over his hidden soldiers. The tunnels were so well concealed that the aliens passed within meters of armed humans without detecting anything. The deception was working better than anyone had hoped. The hunters had become the hunted without even realizing it. President Haewon observed the situation from her secure bunker. The aliens had landed exactly where human planners had predicted they would. Every major city was now occupied by confused Vorthon soldiers who thought they had won an easy victory. They had no idea that they were surrounded by the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The alien commander decided to send more troops to search for the missing human population. Transport ships launched from the main fleet carrying thousands of additional soldiers. They landed in the same cities where the first wave had already established their positions. More victims were walking into the trap. Dr. Yujin monitored the increasing number of alien targets in her cities. Each new transport ship brought more enemies within range of her quantum weapons. The aliens were concentrating their forces exactly where she wanted them to be. Soon she would show them why threatening humanity was the worst mistake they had ever made. Captain Sora detected new alien communications as more ships arrived. The Vorthons were reporting to their homeworlds that Earth had been successfully invaded. They claimed that human resistance had been non-existent. Victory celebrations were already being planned throughout the Vorthon Empire. The aliens had no idea what was coming. As night fell across Earth, the stage was set for the greatest military surprise in galactic history. Alien soldiers occupied abandoned cities while human forces waited in perfect concealment. The trap had been baited and sprung. Now it was time to show the Vorthon Empire what happened when they threatened the human race. Dawn broke across Earth like fire spreading through darkness. Dr. Yujin sat in her mountain bunker staring at screens that showed every alien position in every major city around the world. Thousands of Vorthon soldiers walked through empty streets, thinking they had won an easy victory. They had no idea they were about to face the most devastating surprise attack in galactic history. The quantum mines had been placed with perfect precision. Every building where aliens had set up command posts contained at least 3 devices. Every street where alien patrols walked regularly was mined with enough firepower to erase city blocks. Dr. Yujin had turned the occupied cities into the largest, weapons ever created by human hands. At exactly 6 in the morning, Earth time, Dr. Eugene pressed a single button. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Quantum mines detonated simultaneously in 27 cities across 6 continents. The explosions were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before. Matter simply ceased to exist at the molecular level, leaving perfect spherical craters where buildings had once stood. Commander Ji-ho watched through his periscope as entire sections of Seoul vanished in flashes of blue light. Buildings that had housed alien command posts disappeared completely. Vorthan soldiers who had been walking down certain streets were erased from existence along with the pavement beneath their feet. The destruction was so complete that not even atomic particles remained. The alien orbital fleet detected the explosions immediately. Energy readings showed weapons discharge levels that should have been impossible for a primitive species. The fourth-hand commander stared at his sensors in disbelief as reports came in from the surface. Thousands of his soldiers had vanished without trace. Entire sections of occupied cities had been deleted from reality. Captain Sora monitored alien communications as panic spread through the Vorthan ranks. Surviving soldiers on the ground were screaming into their radios demanding explanations. Some reported that their comrades had simply disappeared. Others claimed that entire buildings had been erased while they watched. The disciplined alien army was falling apart, but the quantum mines were only the beginning. As confused alien survivors tried to regroup, Commander Ji-ho gave the order for Phase 2. Hidden doors opened in tunnel walls throughout the destroyed cities. Human soldiers emerged from concealment, like demons rising from hell. They carried weapons that the aliens had never encountered before. The human weapons had been designed specifically to kill Vorthans. Dr. Eugene had studied alien biology from crashed scout ships and built guns that fired ammunition perfectly calibrated to penetrate Vorthon armor. The bullets were made from materials that disrupted alien shield generators. Every shot was designed to cause maximum damage to alien physiology. Colonel Minsu led his special forces through the rubble of destroyed buildings. His soldiers moved with deadly precision, picking off confused alien survivors. The humans fought like nothing the Vorthons had ever faced before. They used the destroyed cityscape as cover, appearing from unexpected angles, to deliver devastating attacks, then vanishing before the aliens could respond. The orbital fleet tried to provide support for their ground forces, but they discovered that Earth had more surprises waiting. Every piece of space debris floating around the planet had been turned into a weapon. Automated systems activated, launching millions of pieces of high-velocity shrapnel at the alien ships. Admiral Q-Min watched from his command center as the alien fleet came under attack from directions they had never considered. Pieces of destroyed satellites struck enemy ships like bullets. Old rocket stages that had been floating in orbit for decades suddenly accelerated toward alien vessels. Even tiny fragments of space junk became deadly projectiles when fired at incredible speeds. The fourth-hand shields were designed to stop large weapons like missiles and energy beams. They had never been tested against swarms of small, fast-moving objects. Millions of tiny impacts overwhelmed the shield generators, causing cascading failures throughout the alien fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible began taking serious damage from what looked like garbage. Dr. Eugene activated her next surprise from her mountain bunker. Chemical weapons began seeping from hidden vents in the occupied cities. The gases were harmless to humans, but deadly to alien biology. Vorthan soldiers who had survived the quantum explosions began collapsing as they breathed air that had been poisoned specifically for their species. The alien commander tried to coordinate a response, but his communications were being jammed by human technology. Captain Sora had activated signal interference systems that made it impossible for the alien fleet to talk to their ground forces. The Vorthons were fighting blind and deaf, while humans maintained perfect communication through hardened underground networks. General Boram coordinated the ground assault from his command bunker. Human forces struck at alien positions with surgical precision. They knew exactly where every enemy soldier was located because hidden sensors had been tracking alien movements for hours. The humans fought like they knew every move the aliens would make before the aliens made it. The surviving Vorthons tried to retreat to their landing craft but found that many of their ships had been sabotaged. Human infiltrators had planted explosives in the transport vessels. while the aliens were busy searching empty buildings. As alien soldiers ran toward their ships, the vessels exploded in balls of fire, leaving the invaders stranded on a hostile world. Commander Jiho emerged from his tunnel system, leading a full assault on the remaining alien positions in Seoul. His soldiers wore armor, painted with the symbols of death, and carried weapons that fired rounds designed to cause terror as well as destruction. The humans had learned psychological warfare from studying how the Vorthons had conquered other worlds. The alien ground forces began to break completely. Soldiers who had conquered dozens of worlds ran in panic from human attacks. Some threw down their weapons and tried to surrender, but they discovered that humans were not interested in taking prisoners. This was not a war for territory or resources. This was extermination. Dr. Yu-jin prepared to deploy her final ground-based weapon. Gravity bombs had been hidden beneath major alien concentrations. When detonated, they would create localized gravitational fields strong enough to crush anything within a kilometer radius. The aliens who had survived quantum explosions and chemical attacks were about to face forces that could turn their bones to powder. The orbital battle continued as human space defenses revealed their true capabilities. What had appeared to be a primitive species with basic technology was actually a civilization that had been preparing for interstellar war for decades. Every human weakness had been a deception, and every human strength had been hidden until the moment of attack. Captain Sora smiled as she watched alien ships exploding in the darkness above Earth. The Vorthon Empire had expected to add another easy conquest to their list of victories. Instead, they had found the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The species that had seemed weakest was about to prove they were the strongest of all. As the sun reached its peak, the first phase of humanity's counterattack was complete. Thousands of alien soldiers lay dead in the ruins of occupied cities. The orbital fleet was taking heavy damage from weapons they could not understand. The Vorthons were learning that threatening Earth had been the worst mistake in their empire's long history. The Vorthon fleet tried to retreat to a safe distance from Earth, but they discovered that safety no longer existed anywhere in the solar system. Hidden weapon platforms that had been disguised as asteroids suddenly came to life throughout the outer planets. The trap was not just around Earth. It covered the entire human star system like a giant spider web waiting to catch prey. Lieutenant Tae-young climbed into his stealth fighter hidden deep inside a hollowed-out moon base. His ship was invisible to alien sensors using technology that humans had reverse-engineered from crashed Vorthon scouts. Around him, dozens of other pilots prepared for launch. They were about to show the aliens what human space combat really looked like. The alien commander stared at his tactical displays in growing horror. Energy signatures were appearing everywhere throughout the solar system. Weapons platforms that had been hidden for years were revealing themselves one by one. Jupiter's moons bristled with missile launchers. Saturn's rings contained thousands of automated defense drones. Even tiny Pluto had been turned into a fortress. Admiral Q-min watched from his command center as the hunt began. Human ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had been waiting patiently for the aliens to enter their territory. Now the Vorthons were trapped inside a system that had been turned into the largest weapon in galactic history. Dr. Yu-jin activated her masterpiece from her mountain bunker. The viral weapon she had created was not biological but technological. It was a computer program designed to infect alien systems and turn their own technology against them. Within minutes of activation, the virus began spreading through the Vorthon fleet's communication networks. The first sign of infection appeared on the alien flagship. Navigation systems began showing false readings. Weapon-targeting computers started locking onto friendly vessels instead of human ships. Life support systems began cycling randomly, causing panic throughout the crew quarters. The Vorthons were losing control of their own technology. Captain Sora coordinated the stealth attacks from her hidden command post. Human fighters appeared from nowhere, struck devastating blows against alien vessels, then vanished before the enemy could respond. The aliens had superior firepower, but they could not hit targets they could not see. It was like fighting ghosts that could kill. The Vorthon shields that had protected them during the conquest of 47 worlds began failing as the technological virus spread. Dr. Yu-jin had studied alien shield frequencies for years and built Her virus to specifically target those exact wavelengths. The energy barriers that made alien ships nearly invincible started flickering and dying. Commander Jiho led a boarding party onto an alien cruiser that had been crippled by the virus. His soldiers moved through the corridors like death itself, hunting down every alien aboard. The Vorthons had ruled through fear for centuries, but now they experienced that same terror as humans showed them what real predators looked like. The alien crew fought desperately to defend their ship, but they were facing enemies unlike anything in their experience. Human soldiers used weapons that fired explosive rounds through alien armor. They threw grenades that created localized electromagnetic pulses, destroying alien equipment. They fought with a savagery that terrified species who thought they knew what war meant. Lieutenant Tae-young flew his stealth fighter between massive alien battleships like a shark swimming among whales. His ship carried torpedoes designed to penetrate Vorthon hulls and explode inside the enemy vessels. Each successful hit caused chain reactions that tore the huge ships apart from within. The hunter had become the hunted. Dr. Yu-jin watched her. Virus spread through the alien fleet like a plague. Ship after ship reported system failures as their own technology turned against them. Weapons fired at random targets. Engines shut down without warning. Communication systems broadcast human propaganda instead of alien orders. The mighty Vorthon fleet was destroying itself. The alien commander tried to send a distress signal to the Vorthon homeworlds, but discovered that his communications had been compromised. Instead of calling for reinforcements, his ship was broadcasting detailed information about alien weaknesses to human forces. The virus had turned his own equipment into a weapon against his people. General Boram coordinated attacks from hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt. Human forces struck at alien supply lines and communication relays. They used hit-and-run tactics that the galaxy had never seen before. The Vorthons were used to fighting civilizations that matched their technology level. They had no defense against enemies who fought like wild animals. Captain Sora detected panic in alien communications as more ships fell to human attacks. The disciplined Vorthon military was breaking apart under pressure they had never experienced. Officers were losing control of their crews. Soldiers were deserting their posts. The empire that had conquered dozens of worlds was falling apart in a single star system. Admiral Q-min launched the final phase of the space battle. Hidden weapon platforms throughout the solar system opened fire simultaneously. Missiles that had been traveling slowly through space for months suddenly accelerated to incredible speeds. The aliens found themselves under attack from every direction at once with no way to defend themselves. Commander Jiho captured the alien flagship's bridge after brutal fighting through the ship's corridors. The Vorthon commander surrendered, expecting to be treated as a prisoner of war. Instead, Jiho executed him immediately, then ordered his soldiers to hunt down every alien on the ship. There would be no prisoners taken in this war. The technological virus reached critical mass as it infected the last remaining alien systems. Ships that had been fighting humans suddenly turned their weapons on each other. Navigation computers guided vessels into collision courses with friendly craft. The proud Vorthon fleet descended into chaos as their own technology betrayed them completely. Dr. Yu-jin smiled as she watched the destruction from her bunker. Years of preparation were paying off perfectly. The aliens had expected to fight a primitive species with basic weapons. Instead, they had encountered the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. Human scientists had turned warfare into an art form. Lieutenant Tae-young pursued fleeing alien ships as they tried to escape the solar system. His stealth fighter was faster than anything the Vorthons had ever built. One by one, he hunted down the surviving vessels and destroyed them with precise torpedo strikes. None would escape to warn the alien empire about human capabilities. The space around Earth became a graveyard of alien ships. Burning wreckage drifted between the planets like monuments to Vorthon arrogance. The fleet that had conquered 47 worlds had been completely destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The hunters had learned what it meant to become prey. Captain Sora broadcast a message to any surviving aliens in the system. The transmission was simple and direct. Earth belonged to humanity, and any alien vessel found in human space would be destroyed without warning. The galaxy was about to learn that a new apex predator had announced itself among the stars. The few surviving Vorthon ships drifted in space like wounded animals bleeding in the dark. Their engines were dead, and their weapons were offline. The mighty fleet that had conquered 47 worlds was now nothing but burning wreckage scattered across the solar system. From the largest battleship, only a handful of aliens remained alive. The alien commander of the surviving flagship sent a desperate message toward Earth. His voice shook with fear as he spoke words that no Vorthon had ever said before. He wanted to negotiate. He offered to withdraw from human space immediately. He promised that the Vorthon Empire would never threaten Earth again. He begged for mercy from the species he had come to exterminate. President Haiwan received the alien surrender offer in her underground command center. Around her stood the military leaders who had planned humanity's perfect victory. They looked at her, waiting for orders. The president's response would be heard across the galaxy and would define how other species saw humanity forever. Haiwan activated the communication system that would broadcast her reply to every listening civilization in known space. Her voice was calm and cold as winter ice when she spoke. She told the surviving aliens that they had come to Earth planning genocide. They had threatened to kill every human being alive. Now they would face the same fate they had planned for humanity. The president's message was clear and final. There would be no negotiation, no discussion of terms, no mercy for invaders who had planned to commit planetary genocide. The aliens had declared war on humanity, and now they would face the consequences of that decision. Every Vorthon in the solar system would die before the sunset. Commander Jiho led the final assault on the alien flagship. His soldiers moved through the damaged corridors like angels of death hunting their prey. The ship's interior was filled with smoke and sparks from damaged systems. Emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls as human soldiers searched for alien survivors. The remaining Vorthons tried to defend themselves, but they were facing enemies who showed no mercy to those who threatened human extinction. Jiho's soldiers used flame weapons that burned through alien armor. They threw grenades that filled compartments with poison gas. They showed the aliens what total war really meant. Captain Sora coordinated the systematic destruction of every remaining alien vessel. Human ships moved between the damaged enemy craft like sharks among wounded fish. They fired precision shots that destroyed life support systems, forcing alien survivors to choose between suffocation and surrender. Those who surrendered were shot immediately. Dr. Yujin activated her final weapon from her mountain bunker. The remaining alien ships were struck by energy beams that disrupted their molecular structure. The vessels began dissolving at the atomic level, starting with their outer hulls and working inward. Alien crews screamed as their ships literally melted around them. The Vorthon soldiers who had invaded Earth's cities found themselves facing the full fury of human revenge. Those who had survived the initial quantum explosions were hunted through the ruins by human forces who gave no quarter. Commander Jiho's ground troops moved through the destroyed cities like a plague of death. Lieutenant Tae-young flew his stealth fighter toward the last functioning alien ship, trying to escape beyond Pluto's orbit. The vessel was badly damaged and moving slowly, but its crew still hoped to reach Vorthon space with news of the defeat. Tae-young would make sure that no alien survived to tell their empire what had happened. The fleeing alien ship detected the approaching human fighter too late to take defensive action. Tae-young fired a single torpedo that struck the vessel's engine compartment. The explosion tore through the ship's hull like paper. Burning atmosphere vented into space along with the bodies of the crew. The last witness to humanity's victory was dead. General Boram oversaw the execution of alien prisoners captured during the ground fighting. Human soldiers lined the survivors up against walls and shot them without ceremony. There were no war crimes trials, no lengthy imprisonment, no exchange of prisoners. The aliens had come to commit genocide and received the same treatment in return. Admiral Cumin watched the final alien ship explode near the edge of the solar system. The flash of light was visible from Earth as the last Vorthon died in the cold darkness of space. 47 conquered worlds had produced overconfident aliens who thought no species could resist them. They had learned too late how wrong they were. Dr. Yujin began broadcasting the details of humanity's victory to every corner of the galaxy. The transmission included recordings of the battle and images of destroyed alien ships. She wanted every civilization to know exactly what happened when someone threatened Earth. The message would serve as a warning to any species considering aggression against humanity. Captain Sorod detected emergency signals from throughout known space as news of the Vorthon defeat spread. Species that had lived in fear of alien conquest for centuries were celebrating. Others were terrified that humanity might turn its weapons against them next. The galactic balance of power had shifted completely in less than a week. Commander Jiho stood in the ruins of Seoul looking at the crater where the alien command post had once existed. His soldiers were planting human flags among the wreckage as symbols of victory. The city would be rebuilt, but the scars would remain as reminders of what happened to those who threatened humanity. The alien emperor on the Vorthon homeworld received reports of the fleet's total destruction. Every ship had been lost, every soldier had been killed. The species that ruled through fear now felt terror themselves as they realized they had awakened something far more dangerous than themselves. Humanity had announced itself as the new apex predator. President Haiwan made a final broadcast to the galaxy from her command bunker. She spoke directly to every civilization that might be listening. Her message was simple and clear. Earth was protected by the most dangerous military force in known space. Any species that threatened humanity would face complete annihilation. The president promised that humans would not seek conquest like the Vorthons had done, but she also promised that anyone who attacked Earth would face the same fate as the alien fleet burning in space around the planet. Humanity would be peaceful neighbors to those who respected them and merciless killers to those who did not. The Vorthon Empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was broken. Their most powerful fleet had been destroyed by a species they thought was primitive. Word spread through every star system that the humans of Earth were not victims to be conquered, but predators to be avoided at all costs. As night fell across Earth, the last alien signals went silent. The invasion was over and humanity had won total victory. The species that had faced extinction now stood as the most feared military power in the galaxy. They had shown the universe what happened when someone tried to make humans extinct. The galaxy would remember this lesson forever. News of humanity's victory spread through the galaxy like fire burning through dry grass. Every civilization with the ability to receive subspace transmissions heard the same impossible story. The mighty Vorthon Empire had been completely destroyed by a species that most aliens had never heard of before. Earth had gone from unknown backwater planet to the most feared world in the galaxy in less than 1 week. President Haiwan stood before the United Nations Assembly in the rebuilt chambers beneath New York. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to hear her address. But her words were not just for humans. They were being broadcast to every listening civilization across thousands of star systems. The galaxy would know that Earth spoke with one voice. The president's message was direct and unmistakable. She told the assembled delegates and the listening galaxy that humanity had learned an important lesson about their place among the stars. They were not victims waiting to be conquered. They were not primitives begging for mercy. They were the apex predators of known space, and they would act like it. Dr. Yujin worked in her expanded laboratory complex built inside the mountains surrounding the old facility. The Vorthon attack had taught her that humanity needed even more advanced weapons. She was developing technologies that would make the quantum mines